You know, everybody came to the drive-ins to hang out and have a good time.
We had a girlfriend with us. We really didn't watch the movie too much, so I don't really remember the movies. I just remember coming and having fun at the drive-in.
I had 3 sisters at the time. All 4 of us would come and we'd all be in our pajamas. By the time the movie was over, we were all asleep.
Take your date to the drive-in movie and just have a great time. And it gave us a lot of privacy, which is a nice thing too, you know. Sometimes privacy is a good thing.
It's really about the atmosphere, and it's always fun for the kids.
Just like being at home, kind of.
Still makes you feel like a teenager if you come to the drive-in.
It was where the cool kids went to hang out, where families went for an evening of entertainment, and where couples went for a date night and a little privacy. Drive-in theaters are a part of pure Americana that for over 80 years have given hours of entertainment to people of all ages. Invented in 1933 by Richard Hollingshead, the popularity of drive-in theaters peaked in the late 1950s. There were kids of the baby boomer generation all over looking for something to do in the late 50s. There were more than 4,000 drive-in theaters across the nation. One hotspot for drive-in theaters was Flint, Michigan, with its booming auto industry.
Locally, the first drive-in theater was built in 1946. That was the Dort Drive-In Theater, which was located at the corner of South Dort Highway and Aspen Road, where the Dort Mall is now. That drive-in was torn down in 1963 to make room for that mall, and a replacement drive-in was built about a couple of miles south at the corner of Dort and Maple, which was the South Dort Drive-In Theater. Other drive-in theaters were built, such as the West Side Drive-In at the corner of Corona and Linden Roads in Flint Township, where the Health Plus office building is now. Then on the north side, there was the North Flint Drive-In Theater, which survived the 1953 Beecher tornado, but we lost that in the mid-1960s, and a Kmart store was built in that site, which has since closed.
Drive-in theaters had many perks for their audiences. The freedom to sit in the privacy of your own car, not having to pay for a babysitter, the ability to bring your own food. For many years, people enjoyed the casual atmosphere of drive-in theaters. However, in the 1970s, drive-in theaters, including those in the Flint area, saw a rapid decline in popularity. The advent of the VCR and cable TV brought Hollywood into people's homes, so they no longer had a need for drive-ins. That decline in popularity continued into the 80s, along with the rapid real estate building boom of that decade. A combination of all these things caused many drive-ins that had been year-round to go seasonal.
In the late 1970s, high energy prices and a decline in the youth population forced the year-round drive-ins to go seasonal one by one. Us23 was the first to go seasonal in 1972. The Northland was closed for the season during the winter of 1975-76. The co-owned South Dort closed the following year for the winter of 1976-77. And the last holdout was the Miracle Twin, where it started closing for the season in the winter of 1979 and 1980. Now, the other drive-ins, like the Silver and Fenton and the West Side and Flint, were never year-round drive-in theaters. They closed for the season each fall and reopened in the spring.
While the popularity of drive-ins did eventually rise again in the 1990s, the damage had been done. Due to the real estate building boom, many drive-ins were bought out and shut their doors completely. The first drive-ins in Flint to go were the Dort Drive-In and the North Flint Drive-In. A couple of drive-in theaters in Flint did survive the 1970s and 80s, including the Miracle Twin Drive-In and the Us23 Drive-In. Fortunately, Fenton Road, where the Us23 Drive-In is located, isn't on the main drag of Flint, as some of the other drive-ins were. So, it did not face some of the challenges its competition did during the 1980s. Now, it's the only drive-in theater left in Flint.
When I was growing up in Flint, we had several drive-ins. We had like at least 4, maybe 5 different drive-ins, and now it's down to just one, the US23.
The US23 Drive-In Theater was opened in 1952 by Mr. Lou Warrington Sr.
It was a partnership of Lewis Warrington Sr. and Lee Stollard. The senior Lou Warrington bought out Stollard's interest in the drive-in, and in 1955, his son Lou Warrington Jr. took over operations, and he ran the drive-in theater for many, many, many years. Over the years, the drive-in theater has had some improvements. For example, in 1986, Lou Warrington bought the dismantled prefabricated screen tower, which measures 60 feet by 120 feet, and he dismantled that screen tower and moved it over to the US23 Drive-In Theater, and using those parts, he built a second screen, which was 38 feet by 76 feet. He kept the remaining tower parts for a possible third screen, but then in 1997, arsonists destroyed the original screen tower of the US23 Drive-In Theater, which forced Mr. Warrington to rebuild the screen using the replacement screen parts. On June 30th, 1997, the newly constructed tower was hoisted into position. The first movie that was shown on that new screen was Face Off, back in 1997. Now, when Lou Warrington died in 2009, there was original thoughts by the Warrington family of keeping it open one more season and then putting it on the market. But the Warrington family decided instead to lease the drive-in to another outfit.
The company is called Theater Group. It's a group of local investors, and we took over in April of 2009. And we were actually approached by a gentleman who was in the movie theater business and wanted to open a drive-in theater from scratch back in 2009. And unfortunately, Flint area was gonna lose 2 drive-ins. There was the Miracle Twin that had just shut down, and the US23. The late Lou Warrington had owned it for so long, and he passed away, God rest his soul, in 2009, and his family put it up for sale, and it kind of just happened so quickly. Our company negotiated a lease with the family and took over the operations of the drive-in.
Since being owned by the Theater Group Incorporated, the US23 Drive-In has undergone several modifications to bring it up to date with the 21st century and ensure that the theater will be able to continue providing entertainment for all ages for many years to come.
We added a third screen. So originally this drive-in only had 2 screens, and in 2009 we added a third screen, and then in 2012 we added digital projection. So since movie theaters all across the country and the movie studios were making the transition to digital, they're phasing out film. I would say it's about 90% phased out right now. There's still some theaters around the country that are running film, but it's harder to get movies if you're still a theater running film. So we pretty much had no choice but to change. Prior to movie theaters going digital, we used to get huge 50-pound boxes where the film would come into. Now we get this 4-pound box, and we get this hard drive where the movie is stored on. And this is our central server where we upload all the movies into. It takes about 45 minutes to upload it. And from here, we could send a movie to screen 1 or screen 2, screen 3. So I just have to upload the schedule once, and it'll play the movies automatically at the same time every day. So unfortunately, it eliminates the need for a projectionist, but there's other benefits to digital: brighter picture, crisper picture, digital sound. You don't have to worry about scratching the film or getting with the film getting tangled up. So no matter how many times you play this movie from a hard drive or from our digital projectors, it's going to look the same every single time, every single day, no matter how long we have the movie.
Updating the US-23 to digital projection images also meant technology brought with it high-quality sound. Many people remember having to use the speakers next to each parking spot to listen to the evening's feature films, with that speaker dangling in the car window.
We were told when we took over that a lot of them weren't working, and the maintenance involved in keeping those up and working was pretty high. And then with newer technology, everything's transmitted through FM stereo. So we added FM transmitters and decided to remove the speakers just because we feel like it would probably be more convenient for everybody without having wires hanging all over the place, connecting cars and stuff.
I do have a memento. You can still get in-car speakers as well as the junction boxes and speaker pole. I actually built one myself, so I have that in my house.
While one benefit of drive-in theaters is getting to take your own food, drive-ins do offer concession stands as well. In fact, some drive-ins used to have full-service diners customers could enjoy before a movie. When Theater Group Incorporated took over operations of the US-23, they made modifications to the concessions, as these are a huge part of the financial success of a drive-in theater.
So the concession stand is a big, important play in the movie theater business. Since Hollywood takes most of the ticket sales, we're almost in the business of selling food and snacks. So that's where most movie theaters and drive-ins make their profit and pays the bills.
To add to your enjoyment, we're all wound up to bowl you over at intermission time with live wire service at our snack bar.
And, of course, you can't think of the drive-in experience without the somewhat tacky concession stand ads that were splashed on the big screen during intermission.
Yes, sir, the hot dogs at our concession stand do rate an appreciative whistle.
Back in the day, drive-ins were the place for teenagers to go to get away from the watchful eye of their parents. Having a parking lot full of teenagers was quite common. Some went to party.
Everybody came to the drive-ins to hang out and have a good time, but then they started a dusk to dawn party, what they called, and they would play movies from when it got dark till the sun came up. So a few of our friends, of course, we were kind of the wild crew, and came up with an idea to throw the living room furniture in my truck and bring it up here, and we'd set up a couch, end tables on each side, and sit there and party all night. And that went on for several years.
And others went for a little alone time with their sweetheart.
Back in the day, it was a nice, cheap place to take your date because we didn't have a lot of money. So, of course, going to the drive-in, and you got to make out, that was the best part of it. Take your girlfriend or your steady girl or whatever, you got to come and make out and enjoy it. Sometimes we actually seen the movie.
We had a girlfriend. We really didn't watch the movie. We had a girlfriend with her. We really didn't watch the movie too much, so I don't really remember the movies. I just remember coming and having fun at the drive-in.
Drive-in owners weren't oblivious to what went on at their theaters when the lights were low. Many drive-ins had clips like this one before a show or during intermission. In 1980, Roger Welshons, reporter for the Flint Journal, wrote that as long as there are cars and teenagers, there will be drive-ins. Today, there are still cars, there are still teenagers, and they still go to the US-23 Drive In.
I've never been to a drive-in before, and I just find that interesting being able to like sit in your car and watch the movie, and you don't have to worry about being quiet or listening to everybody else around you.
I watch it in the backyard. That's why I like coming to the US Drive-In Theater.
You can bring comfy blankets here, are some of the benefits, and you can bring your own snacks. I mean, they have amazing snacks too, though. So, and I mean, you get the outdoor feel. You don't get the same
fresh air.
You don't get the same feel as being around a whole bunch of people in a regular theater.
Well, I think it's cheaper than the movie theater, and it's a lot funner, and you can pick where you sit automatically.
I like coming to the Us23 because not only is it cheaper for 2 movies, you don't have to sit in a stuffy movie theater with a bunch of people all close together. And I like it. It's a better atmosphere for me. I don't really personally like the whole sitting really super close to people in a stuffy room, so it makes me feel better about it. And it makes it easier to enjoy the movie.
I come here once or twice, and it's, like she said, less stuffy, and not as many people are around me.
Me and my sister, Kira, we keep coming back here to the drive-ins because, I don't know, we like the experience. We used to come when we were little to old drive-ins that was a 2, and they used to have a playground when we were little, and we'd go and we'd play on the swings and everything, and they closed that one, so we found this one, and we've been coming here ever since, every summer.
I guess I'm just excited because I've never been to a movie theater or anything like this before, so far it's cool.
Like my sister said, I keep coming back because I like that it's outside and that, you know, it's a lot of people like here instead of being in the theater and, you know, you're just kind of cramped and stuff, you know. I just like it because it's old, you know. It's just fun.
It's more spaced out. You're allowed to do more. You can bring little kids here. You're allowed to bring your pets in here. You get to stay out under the stars, which is really nice. I like that.
I completely agree with her. A lot more room. You don't have to worry about people putting their butt in your face trying to get, you know, a different spot and stuff.
While the US23 still gets couples going for date night and teenagers looking for a relatively cheap place to hang out, the theater's overall patronage has somewhat changed over the years.
Families bringing their kids, passing on the tradition and the nostalgia effect. You know, grandparents bringing their grandkids. And, you know, kid movies are very popular in the summertime. So, depending on what movies are out, that's pretty much what the draw is. We also get a lot of couples, you know, date nights. And we get some adult couples, some teen couples, pretty mixed, but I would say mainly it would be families and kids.
For families attending drive-ins, it used to be the before-the-movie experience that really drew them in. There was something for all ages before the show, especially the kids. For example, in 1943, the West Side Drive-In in Detroit installed a merry-go-round. Other, larger theaters had everything from miniature horses and golf courses to fishing ponds and live music from some of the hottest performers of the day, including Elvis Presley. The Bel Air Drive-In in Detroit, which had enough space for 2,200 cars, even featured a train ride for kids.
We come out and we had baseballs and for sport I got to chase my sisters. That was the big draw to the whole thing.
Today, the US23 doesn't have the hot artists of the day coming to perform before a show, but they still open their gates a couple of hours before a show, and it's quite common to see kids throwing around a ball, families enjoying snacks together, and teenagers chatting in the car before the show starts. In addition, the US23 does put on some events through the year, such as hosting the kickoff for Flint's National Vintage Car event, Back to the Bricks.
Back to the Bricks approached us about 5 or 6 years ago, and had an idea of showing a free movie open to the public and bringing a bunch of classic cars in. It's every year during the Back to the Bricks car cruise. We're actually the kickoff party. We'll try and do cool events like that if we get approached by anyone who has any cool ideas.
It doesn't get any better than this place because US23 is a tradition here in Flint, Michigan, and it's now become a tradition for the Back to the Bricks car show with the Bricks Flicks. And we love to think of how wonderful it is to those days when we could come here and bring our best girl and just have a roaring good time watching a great movie. And it doesn't get any better than this for the nostalgia. It's been memorialized, you know, with the Bob Seger Night Moves song, which constantly reminds my generation of what fun we used to have here in the carefree days in the 60s and the 70s. And this has been a spectacular beginning of a great show, and it's great to have the folks at US23 make this all happen for us.
Debbie enjoys the partnership of Back to the Bricks and the US23 Drive In and says it brings back lots of memories for her. Now she's helping create memories there for her grandchildren and the upcoming generations as well.
I remember coming here as a little girl and my parents' car. My mom would bring me and my brother, and actually they had a 1960 Buick LeSabre just like the one I have now. Only theirs was black with red interior, and my brother and I called it the Batmobile. And I remember many nights coming to the drive-in and enjoying it. My mom would make popcorn and goodies that we'd have inside the car, and I remember coming home and falling asleep and getting carried in the house a few times. And I've also brought my grandkids here, and I love it. I wish there was more of them.
Aside from hosting Back to the Bricks, Johnny has plans to incorporate other events at the US23 as well.
I know this year I might try and do some retro movies and classic movies in September, like show the Goonies, and Ghostbusters and stuff like that during Halloween maybe. So we have some ideas up our sleeve that we're going to try and do some cool events for.
For families enjoying a night together, couples out on date night, teenagers hanging out, and baby boomers looking for a blast of nostalgia, today the US23 survives by continuing to give a place of entertainment for all.
I think there's still a demand for the type of entertainment that drive-ins offer. We have double feature movies, and most drive-ins across the country have double feature movies, so that's a huge benefit. You come see 2 movies for the price of 1, and our cost is pretty competitive. Adults are $8, children are $6. Children 2 and under are free, and again, that's for 2 movies. An average price for an indoor movie, for 1 movie is, in the evening is like $9 or $10. Kids are around $7 or $8. Instead of being in one chair throughout 2 hours, you can sit in your car. You could bring lawn chairs. I've seen people put a mattress in the back of a pickup. People bring boats and pontoons and sit in the pontoon. They get pretty creative. So pretty much any way you can feel like you can see the movie, as long as you can sit down, relax, and see the movie. It's a good time. People who are smokers can smoke a cigarette without bothering many people. People want to talk. People next to you could have their radio blasting. You could be in the car next door or a couple cars over and still be talking. So you can have some privacy. Kids can run around before the movie. They could get pretty active, throw a baseball around, throw a football around. And, hopefully by the time the first movie's over, kids can fall asleep. And the parents could enjoy a adult movie. And so also, people who have, toddlers and infants don't have to worry about getting a babysitter. They can still bring the baby. If the baby's crying, doesn't really bother nobody.
There were once nearly 5,000 drive-in theaters across the nation, Now, there are only about 500. There used to be 5 drive-ins in the Flint area. Now, there is only one, the Us23. We've heard about some of the many memories people have made at the Us23 Drive-In Theater. Some people stayed up all night there partying. Some fell asleep before they even got home. Johnny says it is the hope of his company for people to continue creating those memories at the theater for years to come.
Our company's here to stay. We hope to keep this drive-in open as long as we can. Every year we try and add a few things, improve a few things. We listen to our customers. We always appreciate any feedback, any questions, any complaints. We take everything seriously. And every year we just hope to continue to improve it, keep this place sustaining, and hope we see smiles on everyone's faces and continue showing movies.